Welcome back to the Farm Show on Westplex Talk 1045. We are in our second segment, which we call B Block. In the last episode, in B Block, we spent a lot of time talking about row crops, particularly soybeans, a little bit of corn, but we talked about soybeans and fungicides. Today in B Block, we're going to focus on livestock operations, and more specifically, the folks at the University of Missouri Extension have put together a 5-part webinar series about all things virtual fencing. Today, we will hear from Jamie Kurtz. He's the Missouri State Grazing Specialist with NRCS. What's NRCS? The Natural Resources Conservation Service, which is part of USDA. Let's get right into Mr. Kurtz talking about the fiscal year 25 Virtual Fence Initiative.
So this year, Missouri NRCS has adopted virtual fencing for the first time, and very grateful to Caitlin for her assistance in a lot of this. We are adopting this for the first time. There's some states last year that had virtual fence offered, so we're kind of working off of their setup for ours as well. But it's going to be broken into two different scenarios. The first one is going to be our fence scenario. It covers the one-time purchase and installation of the collars. It also covers the first year of the subscription cost for the landowner. And then for the next 5 years, so years 2 through 6 of the contract, we will pay a grazing management incentive. And that incentive will help cover, training, ongoing operation, annual fees, and other activities. If any of you have ever done any fencing with NRCS or with soil and water districts, fence has a 20-year lifespan associated with it. So we do have a national variance that you, as a landowner, would need to maintain this technology for 7 years. So we're going to assist you in the first 6 years of it, and you're going to be responsible for 1 year of maintenance on your own. And this variance will be attached to our information sheet that you will get at the time of contracting. With the new EQIP sign up, which is currently going on, so for FY26, we are actually going to have a virtual fence initiative. So with this initiative, we are going to pay people to adopt this new technology. The initiative itself is only going to be paying for the fence and the grazing management. So there won't be any financial assistance available for water development or seedings or anything else that is going on. We will need to document your existing level of management that's going on your property. You need to make sure and show that there's an increased level of management that's happening to be eligible for the 528 payment. And you, as a producer, will be required to keep records and turn them in yearly, so that we can certify that the prescribed grazing or grazing management is being met by you as the producer. Containment fence is going to be required around the perimeter of the grazed area. So this doesn't necessarily mean that there has to be a perimeter fence around the property line. It just needs to be around the areas that are going to be grazed. These containment fences can be, 5-strand barbed wire. It can be whatever you think it's going to take to keep your animals in. And you can refer to our fence spec for containment fence requirements that we, as an agency, approve. So integrating into cropland is going to be part of the ranking process. Initially, we had talked about doing stock densities. So those that were interested in stock densities, increasing stock densities, that was going to be part of the ranking process. We punted on that and decided that we're going to go with people that are integrating this technology into their cropland, whether they're grazing residues or cover crops. Either way, the infrastructure, again, on the cropland will not be included in this initiative, but we can assist with that in other fund pools through EQIP.
When it came time for the Q&A, the host, Caitlin Dozler, had a question for Mr. Kurtz.
So, what if you don't have a current grazing system with NRCS, but you do have a current grazing system, maybe through like the Circle Regenerative Grazing or something like that, or it's just something that you do personally?
Yeah, you don't have to have installed that in the system with us. It could be an existing system on the farm that you've done yourself, or through other cost share through you all or whoever. Um, it'll be evaluated at the time of application, and just like we would with any other um, cost share application, and then we would, as long as it meets our minimum requirements for prescribed grazing, well, you're eligible.
Awesome. That's really good information. And then we have another question that says, would record keeping for virtual fence systems include sharing location information of the callers/animals?
Absolutely not. So we are more interested in the, minimum maximum grazing heights, the number of days between rotations, number of animals. You don't have to share the information that you have with this specific company. We don't need that location information. We're just making sure that your management level is being increased from what it was to start with.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have another one that says, does the EQIP program only apply to Missouri, or does it apply to Oklahoma as well?
Nope. So this initiative is it's only for Missouri. So a little bit of background. Each state, virtual fence is an approved practice within NRCS as a whole. Each state gets to choose whether they want to adopt it or not. It was actually available last year, and we chose not to adopt it, mainly because there were too many questions out there, and I felt that it was going to be some trouble. Yeah, so we're going to. You need to talk to Oklahoma to find out whether they're offering it or not. I know the initiative is just for Missouri. That's a statewide initiative that we have.
Yep. So just like we've said in previous webinars, what we're for this particular cost share, it is only for Missouri. But if you can go and talk to your people, your NRCS people in Oklahoma, tell them that you're interested. The more that they hear from you that there is interest in it, the better it is, and more likely it is that they would, implement something like that. So just make sure you're getting out there and talking with people that you're excited about something like this.
And then Caitlin went for it. The question on everybody's mind, the uncomfortable elephant in the room. Exactly how much is this cost share really going to be?
So
this was coming.
That's the $50 million question. And I don't know yet. I mean, I have access to the information we had last year, which I've kind of ran the numbers, and I think I've shared those with Caitlin as well. This is going to be pretty all encompassing. Fortunately, now I don't really want to share dollars and cents until we have those numbers. Generally, by now we have those numbers in our hand, but I actually just got an email this morning that we will have those numbers on October 7th, barring a government shutdown. So yeah, as soon as we get those numbers and have them on board and have them in hand, I'll be glad to share them with Caitlin and get that stuff out. It'll be on our public facing websites for everybody to see. But I'm confident that it's going to be a good number. It's going to be a good number for us. So
you calculated, Jamie, because I would completely agree if that's the case.
So with as much information as we could say, they're good. It's good numbers. Hopefully we'll learn more October 7th, barring government shutdown. So
yes. Yeah. Watch out for the shutdown.
Yeah, all those things.
As you could tell from context clues, this webinar was held immediately prior to the government shutdown. Okay, back to more questions about this program.
Do you have to have grazing height / paddock duration data from the grazing system prior to applying for this virtual fence initiative?
You do not, but it is helpful. So we would like to, there's going to have to be a conversation between our planners and the producer. Our goal with this whole initiative, the initiative itself was for some of our producers we've worked with that are kind of those early adopters anyways, to hopefully get them excited and get them involved in this program. And as most of us know, to those are the producers that probably are going to have that information on hand. They may not have it down to the nth degree, but they could at least say, hey, I'm moving animals, X number of times a week. I am grazing animals this many days out of the year. That's the basic information we need, so that if you've got a producer that's moving cows weekly and they're going to slap these collars on and still move them weekly, this is not for them, but even if they are the ones that are moving weekly and we can slap collars on them, and move them twice a week, I feel like that's a win. So you don't have to agree to move cows 6 times a day or anything crazy like that to be considered for this initiative. We're just trying to take people to that next step that they're comfortable with.
Jamie, can you tell producers a little bit about, so say they don't get selected for the initiative right up front, is there other options that they can apply for to potentially?
Sure. And to tie right into that with the money situation, we don't know how much money we're getting allocated. So we can't throw a dollar figure into this program until we know what our allocation is going to be for the year. So with that being said, this technology is available for all of our, let's call them ranking pools that would be eligible for fence. So it could come out of the cropland fund pool. It could come out of the pasture and hayland fund pool. We have what they call FOSA, or field office service area fund pools, that can come out of. So there's multiple fund pools that can come out of this. The way EQIP is going to be done this year, without getting into the weeds too far, is the initial allocation or the initial sign up is going to fund our initiatives, our special initiatives, and some of our older applications that are on file. So if you don't get a call, December 1st that you're funded, don't assume that you're out, because we're trying to stretch this funding out for workflow issues for us as an agency. So our period of funding is going to be longer. Now, if you don't get funded at all this year, you will have an opportunity to sign up again for the following fiscal year. Like I said, the sky's the limit. I have no idea what our funding level is going to be. Just because you don't get funded right off the bat, don't give up. And I think that's what Caitlin was trying to get me to say. So there's multiple opportunities. You as the applicant don't need to get in the weeds. That's our job, to get in the weeds. Hopefully, we're going to fund as many of these as we can get, and it sounds like we've had a pretty good initial sign up, so which excites me a little bit. So hopefully, we'll be able to fund everybody.
In the chat, someone asked, "What about folks on rented acres?" Mr. Kurtz had an answer.
So as long as one of the requirements with EQIP is that there's a form, and I'm not going to try to tell you what the number is because I'll probably butcher it. And if there's NRCS people on this call, they'll make fun of me. So there is a form. And what it is a form that basically gives, it's an awareness form for the landowner. So fence, even though this is virtual fence, it's still classified as a structural practice. You've got to have permission from that landowner, whoever actually owns the property, to install these practices on their property, because if they were to kick you off next year, you're still required to maintain that practice for the length of the 7 years. Whenever we're figuring, we have to figure how many collars you're actually eligible for, we got to make sure that you're within that limit of do you have enough acres for the number of collars that you're requesting? So if you've got 10 acres and you're requesting 200 collars, probably that's not going to work, depending on, it's probably not even going to work for sheep and goats. But we've had some inquiries about people in rented ground that, hey, I've got 10 acres and I winter my cows at my house, but then they go out onto other people's property. we have to be able to show that in that rotation so that we're not, annihilating that 10 acres that you have those animals on. That's something that you need to work with your local field office on to get those forms. Like I said, we will run our what we call our Graze 4 program to make sure that you have the acres to support the collars. This depends on the landowner's situation. If you've got a long-term lease on a piece of property, probably isn't going to be a problem for the landowner to sign it. We're not specifying that you have to have a permanent water source in place. If there's a pond that you're wagon wheeling off of, whatever, just as long as we've got water available on those acres is what we're worried about for infrastructure.
There are a number of USDA programs that incentivize young farmers or first-time farmers. Are there any incentives for young farmers or first-time farmers with this program?
Yep. So there is for beginning farmers. We do have an increased level of cost share. So prescribed grazing, or what we call grazing management now, the 528 practice is actually one of the Missouri's priority practices. Because of that, it's already funded at the 90% level. But the fence, so the actual collars themselves, we will cost share them at a 75% rate of the rate that we have. If they're beginning farmer or socially disadvantaged or any historically underserved producer is eligible for 90% on those collars. So they will get a little increased rate, but since grazing is one of our priority practices in the state, they're already getting an increased level, and that's for everybody. But yeah, so there is a little priority. We do have fund pools for beginning farmers that are separate from this. So yeah, they'll have a few more chances, I guess, for funding than somebody that's been farming their whole life.
Again, that was the University of Missouri Extension, the Center for Regenerative Agriculture, MU Extension, and the Missouri Fertilizer Control Board. If you want more information on this particular program, you can go to nrcs.usda.gov. And if you want to hear the full webinar, you can look up University of Missouri Extension on YouTube. While we're talking about websites, a good time to remind you, you can follow The Farm Show on social media. Just go to Farm Show Radio on Facebook, Farm Show Radio on Instagram, and Farm Show Radio on YouTube. We'll be back right after this.